Hello, everyone. My name is Gregory, and this is The View from Out Here. Truman Capote once wrote, "The problem with living outside the law is that you no longer have its protection." I'm wondering if I'm the only one who is feeling that there's an uprising right now of business people who are willing to take chances with the law while in pursuit of money, skirting it along the edges while still depending on it to protect them from harm. The litigious type, the kind that use their intelligence and creativity figuring out creative ways to work around the law, to be able to freely do things that the law clearly prohibits. Few of them will ever get caught, and they know it. One of the reasons they get away with it is because they know that law enforcement is focusing their attention on the street level of criminal activity. Don Henley wrote, "A man with a briefcase can steal more money than a man with a gun ever could." And he's right. You don't see a lot of police with guns drawn barging into corporate boardrooms very much. There are several types of businesses. For our purposes today, I'm going to talk about two of them. There are people who are in business to provide a product or a service and make a decent profit in the process. Nothing wrong with that. That's how it's supposed to be. But there are other folks who are in the business of making money. The fact that they provide a product or a service is incidental. They're in the business of making money. I don't have to tell you which of those types of businesses Donald Trump is involved in. He's one of those whatever the market will bear type of guys. You know the type. There's a sucker born every minute. He with the most money at the end wins type. I call them predatory capitalists. Other less polite folks might call them the mob. They have learned how to operate outside the law because the law won't allow them to dominate everything and everyone and make all the money. Well, not yet anyway. One of the upsides of doing business in this manner is that you can get away with a gargantuan amount of money. But the downside is that at any moment, it could all come crumbling down as you get arrested and carted off to jail. Folks like this treat the world they live in as if money was a contact sport like wrestling. Oh, better yet, rugby, the big leagues. These are the Trump type businesses, people, and he has let them out of their cage. They've always been here, but until Trump came along to make it cool, they were mostly hiding in the wings out of a sense of shame because in the body politic, that kind of business people used to be considered sleazy and looked down upon. It takes a certain amount of amorality to pull that off. You need to do a lot of lying, and not everybody is equipped for that. I mean, do you really think these folks don't talk to one another? You know, make plans to corner markets and keep upstarts down that might be challenging their territory, like cable providers do, like the mob does. Antitrust laws don't seem to think that these mucky mucks talk to one another. You can't keep them apart because they all travel in the same circles. They're all in the same businesses. They go to the same bars and restaurants, golf clubs. What are you going to do? Make it illegal for them to talk to one another? Of course not. Predatory capitalists are what's wrong with capitalism. They're abusing it. Regulations are the only thing that mitigates it, and then it's not by much. Now that business has such a stronghold on government, those regulations are now slowly being cut back or eliminated altogether, freeing businesses to do whatever they want without having to take any risk. Like what's happening with when Glass-Steagall was overturned. That removed a big regulation that otherwise would have prevented the financial sector meltdown of 2008. There's another meltdown coming, trust me, because these regulations that prevent it are slowly being removed in the name of modernization, keeping up with the times or whatever. Accountability is all but being withdrawn as a means that would naturally mitigate fraud. Those guardrails being cut back practically invites fraud in. Hey, fraud, come on in, man. Sit down, have a drink, take a load off. And now we're moving slowly into the territory of being of being ruled by the group that has the most willingness to get violent, the guy who can instill the most mortal fear in people. That can be attributed to Trump as well. He let them out of their cages too. I give you January 6th as an example of what I mean. He's got the left and the right scared. I admit to being afraid about the election in November. If Donald Trump is not put in office, I really do fear what is going to happen. And yes, I'm talking about physical violence, real tiki torch and pitchfork violence, only this time with automatic weapons designed for military combat. I'm afraid of what Donald Trump very likely would turn my country into. Now, the MAGA Republicans on the other side, they're also afraid. They're afraid their nominee for president, 34-time convicted felon Donald Trump, might be in jail on election day. They're also afraid of Uncle Joe, who, don't you know, heads up a crime family, and if he gets a second term in office, liberals are going to be free to eat children, and their country is going to be toast. And a couple thousand other conspiracy theories that they're being fed every day on conservative media. We also have to consider the matter of race. We know that Donald Trump and many of his cult members are racist. And what they mean when they say we're taking our country back, what they're referring to is how many people of color are now beginning to be included in the bounty of being an American citizen. I grant you that we have a long way to go in that regard, but there's enough DEI happening right now to make Trump nervous. These MAGA Republicans are afraid of that inclusion watering down their ability to control everything for the benefit of white Christian men. Now, just between you and me, I'm an old white man. This whole country is set up for my benefit. And I got to say, it's pretty nice, actually. I should be trying to get into the Trump cult because if he gets into the White House again, it's all going to be even more geared towards me. It's not fair because my comfort is then going to be at the expense of a whole lot of other people, many of whom I love and care about. I'm not so cool with that. The Trump organization has some powerful people in it too. You get folks like Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Moscow Mitch, Josh Hawley, Jim Jordan, MAGA MTG, MAGA Marge, Mike Johnson, and a bunch of other senators and representatives. Oh, and Lindsey Graham. Oh my God, what a piece of work that is. Anyway, every one of them stepped up to a microphone right after January 6th and full-throatedly pilloried Donald Trump for January 6th and talked about how dangerous he is. Every last one of them also ended up in a meeting with him at some point shortly thereafter, and every one of them came out of their respective meetings singing his praises again. I don't know what he said to them behind closed doors, but it clearly scared the ever-living daylights out of them about something. But he got them all in line. That's some straight-up mob boss gangster shit right there. It's a good thing that Trump has a big butt because he's going to need it for the sheer volume of people who are going to have to kiss it. Let me leave you with this. That was funny. Let me leave you with this. Donald Trump fully intends to turn the United States of America into a wholly owned subsidiary of the Trump crime organization. We all know how businesses run. The boss makes all the decisions, and the boss is always right. Now, if the boss is wrong, the boss is always right. And if you don't like it, your options are to get back in line and shut up or get out. End of story. That's how it is. And that's not how it is, though, in a democracy. In a democracy, there are checks and balances. So the United States under Trump will need to become some other form of government. And he's not telling us what that's going to be. What's puzzling me about all this is how much freedom do these MAGA Republicans think that they're going to have as a Trump organization employee? I mean, they're going to have to stay in line all the time. Freedom, staying in line all the time. How's that going to work? Okay, I want to thank you for hanging in with me so far. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget about my books up here. You'll find the links in the description below. One of them, Searching for Saint Germain, that one right there, is getting good reviews, all 4s and 5 stars. It's even good for multiple readings. I'm not kidding about this. I take my copy out every once in a while and read a few of the stories again, and I wrote it. It's a childhood memoir, and the stories are true, and it's pretty good. I think you'll like it. Anyway, my name is Gregory, and this has been The View from Out Here. Much love.
Summer. Kind of. Well, it's almost summer, isn't it?